Hi guys, welcome to Academic English 1, Lesson 6. The lesson will take place on Microsoft Teams Live on April 8th, Wednesday at 10:30 in the morning. So let's get started. We're going to begin with the PowerPoint presentation. Alright, so we will start here. Okay. So, the semester overview, you will see that we are now in week 8, which is April 8th, and we have no lesson on April 15th. Now remember, in theory, for attendance at Wittenberg, we have to attend 9 out of 12 lessons, so that means 75%. 1 week was given to you guys as a freebie, the week that the coronavirus was announced as a pandemic, so you only need 8 out of 12. Since our online transition, the requirements for participation, what it's called now instead of attendance, is to be present in the live lessons on Microsoft Teams and to complete both of the written assignments for the week. It is possible that you get partial participation credits, and I will update periodically about every other week the attendance/participation overview in the attendance section of Moodle. So keep your eye on that, and remember at the end of the semester you need to have at least the 8 out of 12 lesson participation or attendance credits in order to take your exam and to submit your essay for a grade. So just keep that in mind as we go through the semester. Reminder that the live lesson takes place next week, April 8th at 10:30 in the morning. Please make sure that you accept and log on to Teams a little bit before 10:30, so we're really ready to start at 10:30. Okay, so for today's lesson, you needed to read Unit 1.10 in the textbook, and then you needed to complete your expanded outline, so you needed to broaden out. If you had already submitted a skeleton simple outline, you need to give some more information, start thinking of topic sentences, implementing the sources you found, and making it a bit more advanced. And that you would do in the outline form that was linked there for you guys to use. You need to fill in those sections and then submit that. And then the second assignment was an assignment from the textbook. Oh, my mistake, that was Academic English 2. The second assignment was the Harvard referencing quiz. So you need to submit that online on Moodle, and you have to earn at least 50% for it to count. So if you don't get it on the first try, you can try it an unlimited amount of times. Number of times, sorry about that. Okay, the last thing is to make yourself familiar. That was the thing I just said. Moving on. We see a nice yummy burger there. I don't know about you guys. I certainly have not had any fast food burgers in a long time, since I am not getting any takeout. Really just stuck here in our house and getting the groceries that are delivered. But we see here parts of a paragraph. You will learn later in this lesson a method that I like to use, an American style method. This one is also kind of helpful for you visual learners to think about a sandwich. You see the top bun of the burger is the topic sentence. So that's a sentence where you introduce your topic in a paragraph. And then the tomatoes, lettuce, meat, other toppings, those are your supporting details that support the topic. And then colorful vocabulary, so the dressings are the vocabulary, the use of language that you use in the style, and then the concluding sentence, the bottom bun. So for some visual learners may prefer this method over the method that I'm going to be asking you guys to make use of in your assignment for next week. I like to give always a few different ways of doing things, a few different methods. So I just wanted to include that for some of you visual learners. And I want you guys now to go ahead and open your books, your academic writing handbooks for international students. And we're going to open them up to page 71. I will do the same. If you do not have your book, I have uploaded pictures of every single thing from units 1.10, organizing paragraphs, on there for you. And anything you need, you can find on there. I did not upload the answer key though, so if there is somebody who's making use of those pictures and would like to check their answers, make sure to contact me so I can send you the answers as well. Okay, so open up to page 71. All right, so exercise 1. We're going to look at the paragraph given here under paragraph structure, and we're going to answer those two questions below. So what is the topic of the paragraph, and how are the sentences linked together? So I'll let you guys pause the video and read that sentence. Think about what the topic is and how the sentences link together. Okay, have you resumed the video because you finished reading? Excellent. All right, so if you have your books open, you'll see here on page 72 this table. And that breaks it down for you. So you see that the topic sentence here, Spanish is one of the world's leading languages. We know that that's the general topic that this paragraph will be covering. It might be part of an essay that is about the influence of Spanish as a world language. It might be about, it's a body paragraph in a section on Romance languages, or it might be a section on European Union languages. It could be anything, but this paragraph itself is about Spanish as a world leading language. Point 2 is the supporting information. It, meaning Spanish, is spoken by over 500 million people, mainly in Spain and Central and South America, as a first or second language. Then they give a reason for that supporting information. So they're not just throwing out random tidbits of information, but they're supporting the ideas and explaining why that's important, why that's relevant within this topic. This is a result of the growth of the Spanish colonies in Central and South America from the 16th century. Then you have extra information 1 and extra information 2. Increasingly, Spanish is also widely used in North America, where Spanish language newspapers and radio stations are common. Spanish is a Romance language which evolved from Latin, but which also contains many words from Arabic due to historical Moorish presence in the Iberian Peninsula. So we have a general understanding after reading the supporting information, reason, and extra information about why Spanish has become one of these leading languages in the world. And I wanted to just point out that we have here in this paragraph an evolution of Spanish as a language, and we see how it got to be one of the world's leading languages. One thing you'll notice about this, though, is that it really is just one paragraph, and you don't see a link to a following paragraph or a conclusive summary that's going to lead you to the summary of an essay, because this is really a standalone paragraph. Okay, so this example shows that, and there's those bullet points below, bullet points 1 through 4. On page 72. So it shows that you deal with one single topic, always one main idea per paragraph. Divide the text into paragraphs. Dividing the text into paragraphs helps both reader and writer so that we can follow the argument or the main point more clearly. And also you want to make sure that you aren't just making paragraphs based on where you think your natural flow of speech ends and begins, but that they're really structured in a way that academically makes sense with one main overarching idea per paragraph, and then that you have a certain amount of paragraphs per essay, because body paragraphs, introduction and conclusion, you shouldn't have, this is not going to be with 750 to 1,000 words, this is not going to be a 13 paragraph essay. That's just not going to happen. So we really need to make sure that these paragraphs, the body paragraphs, which we will look at week after week, about 3 weeks, I want to say, give or take, we look at body paragraphs 1 to 2 from your essays, and then we do the introduction, and then we do the conclusion, and then we do again another chance for 1 or 2 body paragraphs before you even get to your peer review. So the point of this exercise of doing this in Academic English 1 isn't because writing an essay is so hard, but writing strong academic paragraphs and having one main idea per paragraph and having every idea support itself with with Harvard referencing and connecting the ideas together, writing a strong thesis statement, coming up with a good structure. That's the point of Academic English 1, and that's why we dissect each part of the paper and the structure so deeply, so that by the time you get to Academic English 2, you really know what you're doing. And then, of course, when you go on and write your final paper at the end of your studies. Point 2, the length of paragraphs varies significantly according to text type. which should normally be no less than 4 or 5 sentences. Point 3, usually but not always the first sentence introduces the topic. I would like that we stick to this topic sentence being the first sentence for Academic English 1. A literature student in their upper years, they may get a little bit more creative, but especially right now, Academic English 1, summary, really explanatory essay, topic sentence should be the first sentence in your paragraph. Point 4, the parts of a paragraph are linked together by reference words, conjunctions, and adverbs shown in bold in the table. They guide the reader through the arguments presented. So you see in that table on page 72, it is a reference word referring to the language Spanish, so you don't have to repeat Spanish, Spanish, Spanish every time. This referring to the point that was just made, the reason. Increasingly, so it's an extra little word that is a transition word. It's describing the growth of Spanish as a world language. And then the conjunction for the last extra information, number 2.5, is but. So we have sections in our book that covers these different transitional expressions and phrases, as well as conjunctions. However, I have given some online links and sources as well that I find a bit more practical, especially since we're doing distance learning right now. So you can make use of those and also make use of the textbook. It says below that, see unit 3.1. I'm sorry, I realized I put 3.2 in the PowerPoint. After I upload the video, I'll go back and update the PowerPoint for you. It's unit 3.1 is about cohesion. So that's again talking about bringing these paragraphs together. So if you have the time or you think you're really struggling with understanding this idea, then go ahead and look through unit 3.1, cohesion. All right. And then exercise 2, the practice A, at the bottom here of page 72. The sentences in the following paragraph on the topic of home ownership have been mixed up. Use the table to put them in the right order. So pause the video, look through those sentences you have in Roman numerals 1 through 5. You want to decide which one's a topic sentence, which one's example 1, which one's example 2, which one's the reason, and then which one's the summary. And you want to see here, you're not going to write in your book, but you can write down on a piece of paper like this. And then you can pause the video and check the answers on page 273 to page 274. And if you have any questions about that, you can write me and let me know. All right, moving on. So I mentioned earlier that I was going to give you guys, I gave you that visual of the burger, but that I was going to use an American style method of writing good paragraphs. So think about Texas, the state of Texas. Now, don't think about cowboy hats and boots, but think about those letters, TEXAS. It's an acronym standing for what you need to make a good paragraph. So first one is topic sentence. I think I need to move my face over here. Topic sentence, the T. The most important reason often provided in support of closing prisons in the United States is that many people believe incarceration is an outdated form of punishment. So we see here with this topic sentence that the paragraph will be about using incarceration, so putting people in prison or jail, is no longer considered a humane, up-to-date form of punishing people. Okay. The E, what do you think the E is for? If you're thinking elaboration, or evidence, some people would say here, but at any rate, elaboration, then you are correct. So here, it is believed that serving time in prison does not support rehabilitation and is often deemed counterproductive. Now this section here is elaborating. That means giving more details, more information on the introduction of the topic in the topic sentence. So it's basically, they're arguing that not only is it outdated, but it's often actually counterproductive, meaning you're not getting the result that you want to get, and you may even be making it worse. Move me over here again. Okay. A Harvard study by leading youth justice researchers and former youth correctional administrators on youth justice in the United States shows that the current youth prison model, which emphasizes confinement and control, often exasperates youth trauma and inhibits positive growth while failing to address public safety. Schaffer, 2016, page 30. So you'll notice there, this is a direct quote and it's using Harvard referencing. So we've got in the parentheses at the end of the quotation or of the citation. So if you're paraphrasing information from the source, the author's last name, comma, the year it was published, comma, and then the page number is given here as well because it is a direct quote. And then the period or the full stop goes outside of the parentheses at the end. So that was what the X was for, example. So always providing a good, tangible, memorable example will help. And using a reliable source when doing so. And the A is for analysis. This shows incarceration, especially of youths, can be harmful and ineffective. So here we're analyzing the information. We're not just accepting it as it is, but you put in some critical analysis. I think that, not an informal opinion, but really from an academic viewpoint, analyzing the information that you have read from the multiple sources, coming up with a conclusion of your own about this topic. And then the summary, which is why many believe that prisons in general should be closed. So the last part is even not a main clause. It's not a full sentence itself. It's part of the last sentence in the analysis, and that's okay. But because we still have a clear analysis of the topic and summary of the topic, some part of a sentence, something that summarizes and ties it all together. Also, you can use the last sentence or summary sentence or add an extra sentence after that links to the next idea, which can make it a little bit easier to follow the paper. Okay, which brings us to our written assignment number 1. You guys will be applying the Texas method, so looking at your paragraph for your essay and thinking about, does it, after you write it and while you're writing it, does it have a clear topic sentence? Am I elaborating on the topic? Am I giving a strong example? Am I providing enough analysis? Is it all just examples or just ideas that are surface information, or am I actually getting into it with a bit more detail, analysis, and summary? Is it tied together at the end? Is it clear? Is it all nicely packaged up? And I have posted also a link I will show you at the end of the video, all of the links and resources available to you in the week 5 section of Moodle. I've given an essay, it was originally an article from the Los Angeles Times on a Netflix documentary, and I adapted it to make it in the format of an academic first year summary for a university level student. And for every single paragraph, I've applied Texas, so the topic sentence, the elaboration, the example, except for the introduction and the conclusion, because different things are needed for those 2 paragraphs, which we will get into in a couple of lessons from now. So we will go over that as well, but just focus, if you want to see an example of Texas really being applied in an essay, go ahead and look at that example essay, and in the side in the comments you'll see that that's been clearly marked out. Okay, so your first written assignment, you always have 2, right? So written assignment number 1. First step, 2 steps to it. Write and upload 1 to 2 body paragraphs from your essay, yeah? So you're going to take your outline and you're going to write actual, on main idea 1 or main idea 2, write 1 or 2 actual body paragraphs. And upload it on Moodle by Monday, not Wednesday, by Monday, April 20th, latest by 8 a.m. This gives us enough time to do step 2 before the lesson starts. So step 2 is to review and give feedback on Moodle to your assigned partners on their work. If they don't post by Monday, 8 a.m., then choose please one of the students who did post. If you see that there's 2 students who have posted, neither of them are your partner, one of them already has a peer review written and the other one doesn't, choose the student who doesn't and give your peer review to that student then if your partner hasn't submitted the work on time. This is for 2 reasons. you guys should have as many eyes looking at your work as possible throughout the semester. And you should be going through this process of reviewing, critically analyzing, and editing work throughout the semester, whether it's yours or a classmate's. It will help you to grow as a writer and to understand these concepts that we're learning in class. Okay, so give your opinion on the topic sentence, the elaboration, the examples, the analysis, and the summary. Did they apply Texas? And also please let them know how they did with their use of reliable sources. Did they use Harvard referencing? Were their sources reliable? Did you think that they did it correctly, if you can tell? If not, then what recommendations do you give? Was it easy to understand? Was it clear? General feedback like that, what you liked and didn't like, you can also give, as well as any grammar or spelling, punctuation, capitalization errors that you may notice. Go ahead and give that feedback. But at the minimum, you need to give feedback on what you thought was the topic sentence, the example, the elaboration, the analysis, and the summary. Which sections did you think those were, and what did you think about them? If they were perfect, and be critical, don't be mean, but be critical, because we need constructive feedback in order to grow as writers. But if you think it's perfect, then yeah, okay, go ahead and say that. It won't be perfect though on the first try. But if you think, this part just isn't clear to me, I don't understand this section here where you say that, let them know, because then they know to fix that and they can work on that. Okay, and the deadline for this peer review is Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020. So before, no, sorry, I gave you a little bit extra time. I'm actually giving you until the end of the day. I would prefer if you can manage to do it before class, but I do know that maybe you're having a little bit of confusion with how do I do this, and then we can, if you are, we can discuss that in the live lesson, and then I assume that by the end of the live lesson, everybody has enough information and they can provide their feedback by the end of the day on Wednesday. Okay, and the assigned partners are here on the next slide. Nafisa and AK, you will check each other's work. Arpit and Yasif, I haven't heard from you guys. I hope you're both catching up now. You guys should check each other's work. And then we have an uneven number, so I'm going to do a group of 3, Kirill and Michelle and Ling. You guys will each check at least one paragraph from the other 2 students in your group. And I hope then that will even out to everybody doing at least 1 paragraph. Some students will be doing 2. And these are the assignments. You will not be with the same partners every week. I will shuffle it up for you guys, and we will always have the same thing, that if your partner did not upload their work, then you check somebody else's work. That way everybody will hopefully get sufficient feedback throughout the semester, and they will get sufficient practice giving feedback and checking, analyzing text as well. Okay, I just want to give these 2 images as well. Again, some of you guys are visual learners, so I'm going to start over here on the right side. Another often cited method or acronym is the acronym PEEL. So when you peel a banana like this, or you peel something off, every paragraph should use PEEL. So you give a point, make your points. You provide evidence, support your point with evidence and examples. And then the second E, explanation, you explain the evidence and how it supports your point. And then the L is link this point to the next point in the following paragraph, or if it's your last paragraph, it could also be how it links back to your main, well, that could actually be for any paragraph, how it links back to your main research point or question. And if it's the last paragraph in the paper, then it could link to your conclusion. And then the photo on the left side, the writing process, I just want you guys to know, I want you to see this visually so you understand why this course is structured in the way that it is, because writing is not simply something you sit down and do in 2 hours, boom, done, out. This is something that takes practice. Practice makes better, never perfect. No writing is ever perfect, mine included. And the only way to improve and get better at it and more efficient at it is to really go through the process and start to understand the process. Not all students will have the same process as another student, but generally most if not all, writers go through some version or form of this process. So you have the pre-writing stage where you're brainstorming, you're thinking about the purpose, the audience, and the form that your paper will take place in. That's what you guys were doing when you did your first outline, and then a little bit still at between the pre-writing and writing for this week's assignment of the expanded outline. So you started a bit with the organization and the voice and the word choice, and then you might have written some sentences already, which would be really good. And then next week's assignment, or next lesson I should say, since we don't have a lesson next week but in 2 weeks, that's when you guys will get some feedback, and there'll be a little bit of self and peer evaluation, and you take that step. And then you're going to go back to the writing stage after you've done the responding, and you see how the arrows, green arrows, they go both ways. You don't just go to finish one and go to the next, but you're constantly going back and forth. So then we'll go back to that writing stage, and then we'll go to the responding stage and get feedback, and then we'll move to the revising, clarifying, reorganizing, refining, using precise language, and then we're going to go back to the responding, and then we might go back and forth to the writing and to the revising. And then once you get really to the you've had a few different times that you've done peer review, you'll get to really editing, which is the nitty-gritty, going into the details, refining everything. And then once we've really done the lesson 11 peer review and you've gotten feedback from everybody, including me, then you're ready to do your final draft and submit, publish, or share, which means for us, submit it via Turnitin. And hopefully for some of you guys who are really intending on starting this startup company or pitching this project idea that you have selected for the paper, hopefully some of you will actually make use of your paper and be able to use it for some actual work outside of the university. Okay, this link here, I've just given you guys a useful link for, a useful website for linking ideas together in your writing. It has nice images, graphics that you guys can make use of. It explains how to use them. They have a video, and then they have several other sub pages as well on that website that help you with connecting your ideas together. I find it very useful, and you should definitely make use of that and review that after you've done your initial writing of your body paragraphs that you submit. Okay, this brings us to writing assignment number 2. Just get myself out of the way. Writing assignment number 2 is to complete exercise 5, practice C, on page 74 of the textbook. So that's here. We see a list of bullet points. And the topic is trams, so public transportation, trams. And I want you guys to use your own words. I've used this exercise in the past for Academic English 1 students, and what I've noticed is that sometimes they just use the bullet points and do very little writing of their own. These are just notes from writing. You do not have to stick to this. This is just some ideas. Now that we're not doing it in class, feel free to make use of the internet and use some outside sources and attach a reference list at the bottom. Practice your Harvard referencing. See how you do and whether you do a good job or not. You don't have to for the assignment. It's more about the actual writing and really linking ideas together. That's the purpose of this exercise. But go an extra few feet and bring yourself a challenge and really try to make use of some extra sources that you find reliable. Use in-text citation, do it through paraphrasing and or direct quoting, and then add a reference list at the bottom. Practice and see how you're doing with your referencing. You don't have to, but you do have to write this in your own words. It won't be considered acceptable if you're really just writing the bullet points out and not even changing the tenses when you need to. All right, so this is just a model of some ideas for you, and you can go and do your own research on this topic as well. Make sure that you link the ideas together within and between the paragraphs, because you have to write 2 paragraphs and remember, minimum 4 to 5 sentences per paragraph. And link the ideas together with the phrases from exercise 4. So right above that, you see some phrases in the book, exercise 4, and the website on the previous slide. So that website I just mentioned to you guys. I'm not going to bother opening it because you guys can do that yourself. But make sure to use that website and to use the exercise 4 to get some ideas about how to link your ideas together. And both of your paragraphs should be uploaded on Moodle by Wednesday, April 22nd at 8 a.m. All right, so your homework is to complete both of those writing assignments and to read units 1.11 and 1.12 in your textbook. So whenever you have homework that is to read the units, you do not have to read and do all of the exercises. That would be great if you did. However, that is not the intention, is that you have to do every last exercise in the book. You guys all have slightly different levels and needs with your English, so I would suggest choosing at least 1 or 2 exercises and at least reading through so that you're familiar with the concepts and the ideas. And when you watch the video lecture, I may do 1 or 2 exercises per unit that you are familiar already and ready to participate, and that you have that information at least passively in your recent memory. But that's the minimum. It would be great if you went ahead and read through them and did the exercises and checked your answers in the back of the book and were ready to ask me questions for anything you didn't understand. And that's it. The next lesson will be April 22nd. So I'm going to close out of the PowerPoint slides and open Moodle back up. All right, so you see here on Moodle, week 6, April 8th, you have to write, the main points are always here in the bullet points. You have to write your 1 to 2 body paragraphs. We had to read unit 1.10, and then I have provided some resources for you guys. Once this video is done, I will upload the video lecture here, and then you have the PowerPoints, which I've just gone through with you guys. You have the pictures of unit 1.10 in case you don't have your book with you wherever you are, wherever you're doing your quarantine. And then this is the example that I had mentioned of Texas, the acronym being applied. And you will see that here when I open it, that I have, Daniel Terfort is my husband's name. I apologize if that's confusing. So you see the structure of an introduction and how that's applied and where. And then you see here for each body paragraph, what is a topic sentence, explanation or analysis, example, summary, or link to next main idea. And you'll see it doesn't always follow the order of Texas, but each of the elements from Texas are still there. Okay, now back to Moodle. I've also just included this 10 rules for writing numbers in units of measurement, because I find that students have a lot of difficulty with this. So it's not required reading, but it is highly suggested reading to go through it. And if you are including any statistics or numbers in your body paragraphs that you guys are writing for this writing assignment 1, then go ahead and double check that. It's a nice quick reference. Also a thesis statement resource. This is if you're still having trouble and the information that we have from the previous classes is confusing to you, then go ahead and click this link. This is this is from Indiana University. This is all about how to write a thesis statement, what should be in the thesis statement,